Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the season finale, Season 1 of SDVoE Live. I'm your host, Justin Kennington, and this, for now at least, is TV for Pro AV. As I mentioned, today is our season finale. We have a very special guest, an old and personal friend of mine, Lincoln King-Cliby from ControlWorks. He's a senior programmer there, and we're going to be talking all about how to control AV today. Right? 20 years ago, we lived in a world where infrared code databases were what the AV programmer lived and died by. Today, it's APIs and web programming languages, and we're going to break that all down with Lincoln. But first, a couple of programming notes. Don't forget about our after show. No matter what happens here on this show today, we will be sitting down after the credits roll with you, our audience, to take your questions live. If you've got questions for me, for Matt, or for Lincoln, whether they're about APIs or anything else we've covered this season, bring them to the after show. And if you're watching us live, it's very easy to do. All you have to do is just stay right where you are. No matter what happens, don't click any buttons. And when those credits finish, we'll be back with you, come hell or high water. Speaking of season finales, we've been at this for 7 months now, nonstop. Every other Tuesday, we've come to you with topics from 8K to today's APIs, HDR to security, lots of interesting stuff. And so let's take a quick look back at a short clip of how we got here. In our location scouting, it took months to find just the right set.
Now we're going to go and see what people thought of the SDVoE show.
What's this I see? Plants and chairs? Well and truly trumped JK in the Christmas jumper stakes.
I told you these big screens would be worth it one day. Did I not tell you that, Matt? He taught me that with the right team with you, all you have to do is set very big goals. Are we going to subtitle this in English, Matt?
Yeah, we'll try.
Oh, we call the IT team. No, I'm just kidding.
The controversy of more pixels versus better pixels, that's a false controversy.
So when you look at the top programs in esports right now, you're going to see a lot of universities in there where you scratch your head and go, what?
When you go there, it's an incredibly immersive and engaging, personalized experience.
Very first guest with an active case of COVID-19.
It's not that the art of AV is lost. It's just that we're moving into an IP world.
Same climate on this side as that side? Yeah. Obviously. Should we tell them what this is? This is our digital canvas.
Right, that seated 25 people that now seat 50 people because of the digital canvas.
I believe so.
Wow. How cool is that? How super is that? Do the sting, Paul.
Yeah, should we hug?
Good over here. Oh, we're trying.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
you're right. Let's not.
No.
What a season it's been. Thanks to the production team, producer Paul, producer George. Special thanks to Brooke for putting that clip together. As you can see going on behind me here, there are some, let's say, technical business issues with our tenancy in this new building. There's some things I haven't told my co-host Matt, who I also owe special thanks to for the season. So I'm going to tell him a little bit about it later, but first let's see if he can be a professional, not worry about this, and show you some things about APIs. Why don't we take a quiz question and then head over to Matt.
There's diggers and things out there. Yeah, there's definitely some. Yeah, I feel a bit nervous really because they're quite close. They're quite close to us here in the house. Anyway, it's season finale. It's emotional, but it's exciting because we're getting ourselves ready for the next season. We'll tell you all about that soon. But for now, we're just going to spend a bit of time talking about API, application programming interface. And this short clip from our academy course, which you'll see a link to afterwards, just really gives you a clarity on how SDVoE API is really a game changer for the new platform for AV. So without further ado, let's take a look. We now know that SDVoE is the only truly interoperable standard for matrix switch performance across a 10 gig network. And at the heart of this interoperability is the API, or Application Programming Interface. This course will give you a deeper insight as to how the API guarantees the interoperability of different endpoints from different manufacturers. Let's begin with the acronym SDVoE. It stands for Software Defined Video over Ethernet. Video over Ethernet is easy to understand. It's video distributed over a standard networking infrastructure, or Ethernet. But what does this software defined part mean? To explain this, let's compare a software defined topology to a matrix switch topology, or as we like to call it, hardware defined topology. In the hardware defined world, we rely on the matrix switch to manage all the routing, configuration and control of the AV signals. And in the software-defined world, this is all done with, well, software. Anyone heading to the SDVoE.org website will see the mission statement, and many key words will pop out, such as manufacturers, designers, integrators, technology managers, Ethernet, AV distribution, interoperability, standardization, SDVoE platform, user experiences. And it's this which demonstrates the power of the SDVoE platform.
Hey, Matt, you ready for summer?
Well,
I am.
Well, I'm kind of ready for this whole place to perhaps fall in. The way this lot are going outside, I just thought I'd be a bit safer. You know, having spent years in AV, it does look like I've got one of my nan's tin bowls on my head. But hey, you know, what have you come as?
I should. Well, I'm just ready for summer. This is the season finale. We're going to take a couple of months off. I've just been for a swim while you were doing that course. Thank you very much. There's some things that I needed to, some things I meant to tell you, Matt. I haven't been paying the mortgage on this building. You'll recall all the money we spent on these beautiful TVs, the digital canvas upgrade. We were actually supposed to be out of here 2 weeks ago. They did mention something about replacing the building with a new one. I'm sure it should be perfectly safe, nothing to worry about. But we do need to wrap up on time today, I believe.
Oh, you know, it was all a bit too good to be true. People, when they tell you something that sounds too good to be true, digital canvas, I wondered why we weren't getting any new floor coverings. And now these guys are outside demolishing the whole place. It's fantastic. Well, thanks for telling me now, and at least you told me now. Better late than never.
It's what I could do. I didn't want to disturb you.
Right, well, I tell you what then, in that case, let's check in with some news articles. Oh, I always do that, producer Paul. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I always forget to say, and now the news, and then he does the sting thing. But I won't forget to do it again, producer Paul, when we finish the news. This first one up is all about how to succeed AV programming. Tell us about it, JK. What did you get from this article?
Steve Greenblatt wrote this piece, and he brought up 3 really important bullets. You know, he talked about the 2 paths that seem to exist into AV programming, right? Some people are AV installers, integrators, designers, and end up taking on a programming sort of role and come that way. Others start out as programmers, right? Maybe they have a computer science degree, and then they need to learn the AV space. And his article is sort of about how both of those people can succeed, right? By being flexible, by making sure your code is modular because you can't afford to write it from scratch every new job, and by always educating yourself because AV is such a fast-moving target. The programmer rarely gets to choose the AV equipment, you know, and they need to understand how all these different parts and pieces work so that they can create an integrated whole that builds a good user experience.
Yeah, Yeah, it's a good article. It splits it into three pieces. The new guys on the scene, if you will. It mentioned there about that's taking it from two approaches. The new guys going through college now, the computer science, the engineering students. They're a really good fit for an AV programmer. These new guys have got to be. It talks about agility and adaptability. You've got to be able to anticipate changes, not like the old school programming a system and then it stays the same and it's the same all the way through. Very little change happens. That's not the case when it comes to AV. It talks about these guys have got to be creators of, like you said, modular, reusable, scalable solutions. They've got to be committed to the industry. It uses a phrase which is quite daunting, but I don't know if I like it or not. If you're not growing, you're dying. It's probably a bit hard, but at the same time, it's true. Simple systems, it mentions simple systems now don't really need any programming. There's no such thing as programming a simple solution. People can program it themselves as they use it. The new phase of base level programming, base level applications can be done by the user. So these guys have got to be really on the ball. They've got to stay with it. They've got to be ready to really sort of think hard about complex, changeable systems. So it's good news piece. And the second news piece that you brought up, well, one close to home, the new SDVoE API developers program, which we've spent a long time over the last 6 months developing, right?
And tying this all together, you may remember, those of you who've been with us since episode 1, we first announced this program on that episode. We said it was coming up in the winter, and it did. It launched. We have a small pool of developers in the developer preview right now. And those of you who are reliable, faithful SDVoE Live viewers, I wanted to extend a special invitation to you. If you're interested in joining the developer certification program before it launches this September, I want you to look down below, and there's a link to sdvoe.org/developers, something like that. It's in the link. And for this week, we'll have that form open. You can sign up, tell us a little bit about yourself and your programming, and we'll get you into that program for a preview through the summer. So be sure to check that out. The program itself is about creating user experiences. That's something we're going to dive into with Lincoln, our guest. But the idea is really to make SDVoE a kind of Android for Pro AV, right? A world where we're focused on user experience first, the software that creates that next, and then the hardware is a critical and crucial component of everything, but it's not the first decision that you make, right? We want to see people deciding on a software platform, and then SDVoE is that platform for hardware and software. This is much like when you buy a new mobile phone today. What's the first decision you make? It's, do I want an Android or do I want an iPhone, right? That's a software platform decision first and foremost.
No, it's not.
Matt, what do you think? You put together training for this. Give us a short summary.
That's not the first decision that comes into my mind about buying a mobile phone. It's whether or not my wife's happy with it. Can she, how much data will she get? So she can. Anyway, sorry if you're out there listening, Marie. I do apologise, but yeah, data. It's all about how much data. This has been great to develop. We spent a long time putting all of this together in a simple, not simple, but a format which is digestible. I think it's the best way to put it. There's loads of resource references, loads of resource throughout the whole program. And obviously we do what we do best, which is creating lots of animation to help really explain the whole process and how it gets applied. So yeah, it's a great course. There's more to come, so enjoy. And for now, that was the news. So, time to bring on our guest, I think. Without any further ado, let's whisk him into shot. Are you there, Lincoln?
I am here. Hello.
Hooray. Sorry about the construction noise going on, and I'm even sorrier about my fellow host's attire, his apparel. I didn't know we were doing that sort of thing. I'm still the true professional. So I'm going to leave you two to have a chat. Lincoln, please don't laugh, or try not to. Please try to take him seriously.
I'm a professional who's ready to take the summer off. Lincoln, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Likewise. It's been a year.
So I know your background and what you do, but why don't you tell us a little bit about it and how you got there?
I'm a senior systems architect and commercial market director for ControlWorks. We're an independent programming house. Pretty much 100% of what we do is integration programming, AV. I started back kind of technical theater and computer science background, so this is kind of where those two came together and crashed together, as it were. And I've been doing this for longer than I should probably count at this point.
So we talked when we were referencing the article earlier. We talked about the two main paths into AV programming. One, starting as an AV geek and learning to program, and the other starting as a programmer and learning about AV. You almost just told me that you took a little bit of both of those paths, but which one would you say you favored personally?
Honestly, I think I favored the technical theater side because I'm always a tactile person. I love actually seeing things happen, which you don't get to the same extent with a traditional computer program.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you see any changes in your peers and I guess frankly in your competitors? But do you see more of? I guess my impression is that historically, looking back 10, 20 years ago, every AV programmer was someone who started out as an AV integrator, designer, hacker of some kind, and learned to program. Is that still mostly true? Do you see more people with formal programming training? Where is this moving, or is it moving?
Oh, that's definitely pivoting. Yeah, 20 years ago, the AV programmer was just the smartest installer who got shoved a laptop in their face and here, make this do something. Make this do something useful, as a former employer of mine first told me. As the technologies are getting more complex and more capable, definitely you're starting to see where those with a more formal computer science or programming education are getting pulled into the industry. There can definitely be advantages and some challenges for both avenues because AV does not work the way a computer program works generally, or a Windows program works, I should say.
For sure, yeah, that was touched on in Steve's piece that AV is a very different and different kind of challenging environment than traditional computer programming because you have customers changing the requirements as it goes along. You have gear that's not behaving exactly like it said it was going to behave, and you have to sort of be more flexible than maybe a traditional programmer is expecting. So certainly that's interesting. Along those lines of trends and what's moving where, what do we see in programming languages? Tell us a little bit about how we programmed 20 years ago and how are you programming today? What's the structure? What's the architecture generally look like?
Yes, 20 years ago, arguably a lot of platforms you didn't program, you configured. You took an IR driver and you mapped buttons to features, and then obviously some of the large manufacturers in the control space, it's more of a ladder logic or event-driven, which in plenty of applications I actually still prefer because, at least for me, you can kind of trace an action through the steps and get it out the end. And then today, with everything being cloud-based and internet connected and a lot of focus on mobile in the cloud, you're seeing things like OAuth and RESTful APIs, which would be nice if everyone implemented consistently, but where's the challenge if everyone actually follows the standard?
Good question. Good question. But I'll ask the questions here. Thank you. What makes, I guess on that subject, actually, let's take that a little further. You talked about AV moving into RESTful APIs and more web-based programming styles. Are we late to that party? Is this the right time for AV? What do you think is going on there? Has the industry been picking those up at the right kind of pace, I guess is what I'm curious to know.
I don't know that there's a clear answer for that because I think this is the right time to pick it up. What I'm concerned about, or what I'm seeing in some manufacturers, especially on the controlled device side of things. So, for example, a thermostat or a garage door, or, not necessarily traditional AV components, it's like, oh, we have an API, and they'll throw it out there, but not document it and not support it, which makes it very hard to integrate when you have a traditional programmer who may work for that manufacturer who doesn't understand kind of the needs of AV, and AV programmers who don't understand that what the traditional person was thinking when they may have defined a term, and then struggles ensue.
I'm curious, the control engines that you're using, right? Of course, Crestron is going to be a popular choice for the actual, control brains and the logic. And there's a few others. I don't want to leave anybody out, right? But Extron makes stuff. I think QSC is in that game. My question is not about any one of those in particular, but are those still, those class of devices, those manufacturers' devices, are they still at the heart of your control systems today? Do you see any movement away more towards a PC or a Raspberry Pi or just some more general piece of compute that's actually running the program? What do you see there?
It's funny you mentioned that. When I worked for a university 20 years ago, or 15 plus years ago at this point, I developed a control system that ran on the PC that was already in every room. So that's definitely an option. Personally, when I'm designing a system, I like to see something from one of those manufacturers you listed at the heart of the system, just because it's a purpose-built piece of hardware that I don't have to worry about someone trying to install Windows 11 on, or what have you, and then taking the system down in 3 clicks. But it's a trade-off.
3 clicks and a reboot. Be fair.
Well, okay, true, yeah, but it is the trade-off. More hardware, more cost versus gains in reliability. So it's something definitely to consider. But there's nothing saying that you can't run it on general purpose hardware if you really, really want to.
But it sounds like there's no current trend in that direction, right? What's possible isn't what's popular today still.
Not today. Not in the vast majority of the customers that I work with. Okay. No.
And something you already kind of touched on in a couple of questions ago, but the last thing I want to touch in about 30 seconds is what makes an API good and easy to use, or bad and hard to use? What's the difference?
In 2 words, documentation and support. If an API is well documented and well supported by the manufacturer, generally it's going to be pretty. If the API is not well documented and not at all supported, you wind up pulling more hair out, and probably half of my gray hairs due to poor API designs.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. I won't make you call out any specific examples of bad. I mean, have you seen anybody that's done a really great job that's worth mentioning? And feel free. And by the way, I read my clock wrong. Now we have about 30 seconds.
So obviously, I think SDVoE is kind of definitely going down the right track there. On the older
I wasn't fishing
generation,
for that, but thank you.
It's one of the first that comes to mind. Sony also, their APIs aren't as readable historically, but they're very consistent. So I can take an API for something that's 20 years old, and the current version of the product very well will likely respond to the same instructions, which is a really nice feature to have.
It goes back to that modularity, so that you don't have to build something custom and new every single job.
Exactly.
Let's put a pause in it right there. Please come back and join us for the after show. In case anything seems to go wrong here, just stick around. We're going to do the after show, whatever it takes. I want to hear about maybe what are some of the more interesting things you can do now in this new programming API style world that you couldn't do before. So let's go back. I'm going to go see Matt, and I'll see you at the after show.
was a great interview. He's a smashing chap, and he's one of our stalwarts to the show. He's been with us since day one, pretty much, hasn't he?
Well, good. This could be you.
It could be you. It could be you. Don't forget, get your questions in for Lincoln in the after show, and give us your responses to the questions that we've just been asking you. We want to hear about it from you. We threw some questions out at you. Here they are. But like I say, we'll talk about them in the after show. And we just want to get that conversation going, get that discussion going. Isn't that right, JK?
That's it. And I want to mention also, if you're watching this live, stay right there for the after show. If you're watching us on YouTube, first of all, please don't forget to subscribe, hit that button. And you will be able to access the after show in a link in the show description down below my feet. You'll log into the free SDVoE Academy. You'll be able to watch the after show, see more interaction with our guests there. So be sure to check that out. And meanwhile, we're going to take a summer break. We will be back in the fall. So if you want to be updated on when we're coming back precisely, again, find a link down below to sdvoe.org/live. You can sign up there for updates, and you can spend your summer catching up with our show archive. 16 episodes, Matt. 16 episodes on the SDVoE YouTube channel, so look for it there.
That's a lot of episodes, isn't it? And do you know what? May I say, Justin, it's been a really good 16 episodes. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So thanks for bringing me along for the ride. It's been great. I hope if you've enjoyed me half as much as I've enjoyed you, then I've enjoyed you twice as much as you've enjoyed me. Oh, hold on a minute. Was that noise? I don't like this. Did you hear that?
Oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. They said they'd give us until 2 o'clock.
Well, I know, but I'm not really sure, actually. Hold on a minute. There's something weirdly strange is happening. Mate, let's get out of here. Get out of here. Quick. Get out.
Okay.